The Tuesday morning started like any other family gathering at my parents' house. My uncle Marcus sat at the head of the dining table, coffee in hand, explaining to everyone why he should take over management of the family warehouse. "Look, I've got connections throughout the city," Marcus said, gesturing broadly. "My sports medicine practice brings in corporate clients who need storage. This place is wasted sitting there half empty." My mother nodded enthusiastically. Marcus has always been the businessman in the family. It makes sense. I sipped my tea and said nothing. My 5-year-old daughter Emma colored quietly beside me, unaware of the tension building in the room. "The warehouse has been in our family for 30 years, my father added. "Your grandfather would want someone capable running it." Marcus turned to me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You've been living in that apartment downtown, working your retail job. No offense, but you're not exactly equipped to handle commercial property management." "I manage fine," I said quietly. "Managing?" Marcus laughed. "You barely visit the place. Last month I drove by. It looked abandoned. Waste of prime real estate." My sister Jennifer chimed in. "Marcus could turn it into something profitable. You know, he trains half the professional athletes in the state. His contacts alone would fill that building." I focused on Emma's drawing. A house with a bright yellow sun. "Simple, peaceful. All I need are the keys," Marcus continued. "I'll handle everything else. You won't have to worry about it anymore." "I'm not giving you the keys," I said. The room went silent. Marcus set down his coffee cup slowly. "Excuse me? The warehouse isn't available," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Isn't available." My mother's voice rose. "What are you talking about? Your grandfather left it to the family." I said no, Marcus. His face reddened. "Listen. I've already told 3 clients they can store equipment there. I've got contracts ready to sign. Don't make this difficult. You had no right to promise anyone anything." Marcus stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I've built a successful practice from nothing. I train Olympic hopefuls. I've got a reputation in this city. And you work retail, barely making rent, living in a 1-bedroom with a kid. Who do you think should be running a commercial property?" Emma's crayon stopped moving. "This conversation is over," I said, standing and taking Emma's hand. "We're leaving." Marcus moved to block the doorway. "Not until you hand over those keys. Step aside. You ungrateful." He grabbed my wrist. "After everything this family has done for you, you're going to disrespect me like this? Let go of my arm." His grip tightened. "Give me the keys." My father stood. "Marcus, that's enough." But Marcus wasn't listening. His other hand shot out and grabbed my shoulder, spinning me around. Before I could react, he yanked my arm backward with sudden, violent force. The sound came first, a wet pop that seemed impossibly loud in the quiet dining room. Then the pain, white-hot and all-consuming, radiating from my shoulder down through my entire arm. I heard Emma scream. The room tilted. I was on the floor. Marcus stood over me, breathing hard, his face pale. "You made me do that," he said. "This is your fault." My mother was crying. My father was on the phone. Jennifer had taken Emma into the other room. The pain was so intense I couldn't speak. The ambulance arrived within minutes. The emergency room doctor examined me with professional detachment, moving my arm carefully as I bit back screams. "Your shoulder is dislocated," she said. "But there's significant soft tissue damage. We need imaging." They relocated the shoulder first, a procedure that made me pass out. When I woke up, I was in a different room, waiting for the MRI results. Dr. Patterson, the orthopedic specialist on call, entered with a tablet displaying my scans. He was in his 50s, with the careful manner of someone who'd seen everything. "You've got a complete rotator cuff tear," he said, showing me the images. "This wasn't caused by a fall or accident. The injury pattern suggests forceful manipulation. Someone pulled your arm backward with considerable strength." "My uncle," I said quietly. Dr. Patterson's expression changed. "This was intentional. He wanted keys to a property. I refused. He grabbed me." The doctor set down his tablet. "I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Take your time." I explained the entire incident. The family meeting, Marcus's demands, the violence, Emma witnessing everything. Dr. Patterson listened without interrupting, then made several notes on his tablet. This injury requires surgery. The rotator cuff won't heal on its own. You're looking at months of recovery, extensive physical therapy, and possible permanent mobility restrictions. How long until I can use my arm normally? 4 to 6 months minimum. No lifting anything heavier than a coffee cup for the first 3 months. I thought of Emma. How she liked me to carry her to bed. How we'd dance in the kitchen to her favorite songs. How she'd climb onto my shoulders at the park. I can't lift my daughter, I said. The reality hitting me. Not for quite some time. No. Dr. Patterson pulled up a chair. Listen. I need to document this properly. The injury pattern, the mechanism, the circumstances, all of it goes into your medical record. And I'm required to report suspected assault to the appropriate authorities. Will that affect his job? Your uncle works in healthcare, sports medicine. He runs a practice, trains athletes, does consulting work for professional teams. Dr. Patterson's pen stopped moving. What's his name? Marcus Webb. The doctor's face went carefully neutral. I know Marcus Webb. We've been at several conferences together. He's on the regional sports medicine board. Does that change anything? It changes everything. Dr. Patterson stood and made several phone calls from the hallway. I caught fragments. Colleague involved, assault injury. Professional standards, need review. He returned 20 minutes later. I've documented this as a violent assault injury in your official record. I've also contacted the hospital's social work department and filed a report with the medical board. Your imaging and documentation have been forwarded to 12 sports medicine specialists, who serve on various licensing and oversight committees. 12. Marcus Webb's professional standing depends on the opinion of his peers. Those peers need to know that he's physically assaulted a family member over a property dispute. This goes beyond a personal issue. It's a character assessment for someone with authority over athletes and patients. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. Recovery was brutal. Emma didn't understand why I couldn't pick her up anymore. She'd run to me after preschool, arms raised, and I'd have to kneel down instead, hugging her with one arm, while the other hung useless in its sling. Physical therapy started 6 weeks post-surgery. 3 times a week, I'd spend an hour working through painful exercises designed to restore mobility. The therapist was encouraging but realistic. You'll regain most function, she said, during our 5th session. But that arm will never be quite the same. My phone rang constantly during those first weeks. My mother called crying, begging me to work it out with Marcus. My father tried a different approach. He didn't mean it. You know how he gets when he's stressed. Jennifer sent text messages. You're tearing this family apart. Just give him the keys, and move on. I blocked all their numbers. What they didn't know, what none of them had ever bothered to ask, was that I didn't just have access to the warehouse. I owned it, along with 11 others throughout the city. My grandfather hadn't left property to the family. He'd left everything specifically to me in a trust that activated on my 25th birthday. For the past 3 years, I'd been quietly building a storage facility empire worth over $8 million. The retail job my family mocked. I was the floor manager at my own company's main office, staying hands-on with operations. I'd never corrected their assumptions because I valued privacy, and because watching them dismiss me had revealed exactly who they were. 6 weeks after the assault, Dr. Patterson called me for a follow-up appointment. Your surgical recovery is progressing well, he said, examining my range of motion. But I wanted to update you on the other matter. The reports you filed. The response has been significant. All 12 specialists I contacted reviewed your case. Marcus Webb received a formal notice from the state medical board last week. His privileges at 3 hospitals have been suspended pending investigation. The Professional Standards Committee has opened a full inquiry into his fitness to practice. What does that mean for him? At minimum, mandatory ethics training, probation, and oversight of his practice. At maximum, license suspension or revocation. Several of the professional teams he consulted for have already terminated their contracts. The sports medicine community is small and reputation dependent. I processed this silently. Dr. Patterson continued. I also want you to know that the district attorney's office received a copy of your medical records. They've opened a criminal investigation for felony assault. I didn't file charges. The state can prosecute without your cooperation when there's clear medical evidence of serious bodily harm. Your imaging and my documentation make this case straightforward. 2 days later, my lawyer called. Marcus had been arrested. The family exploded. My phone, which I'd unblocked to handle legal matters, filled with voicemails. My mother, how could you do this to your uncle? He's losing everything. Jennifer, you're destroying his career over a stupid argument. He has 3 kids to support. My father, your grandfather would be ashamed of you. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called my attorney and had him draft a formal letter to be delivered to my parents' house. It included copies of the property deeds, the trust documents, and incorporation papers for my storage facility company. The letter explained, in clear legal language, that I owned the warehouse they'd spent years dismissing, that I owned 10 others, that my retail job was actually running a multi-million-dollar company, that Marcus had assaulted me to steal property that was never his to claim. The letter also included a restraining order against Marcus and a cease and desist to the rest of the family regarding harassment. My lawyer delivered it personally and called me afterward. Your mother fainted, he said. Your father just stood there reading it over and over. Jennifer screamed at me for 10 minutes. It was incredibly satisfying. The criminal trial happened 4 months later. I testified with my arm still in a support brace. Physical therapy continuing 3 times weekly. The prosecutor presented Dr. Patterson's medical documentation, the imaging showing my completely torn rotator cuff, and testimony from the 12 sports medicine specialists who'd reviewed the case. Several of them had worked with Marcus for years and described their horror at his actions. The defense tried to argue it was a family disagreement that got out of hand, but the medical evidence was irrefutable. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Marcus was convicted of felony assault. He received 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, and a permanent revocation of his medical license. His sports medicine practice closed. The teams dropped him. His professional reputation was destroyed. 8 months after the assault, I could finally lift Emma again. We were in our apartment, a penthouse I'd purchased in my building downtown. Not the barely making rent place my family had imagined. Hire mommy, Emma squealed as I raised her onto my shoulders. My arm ached. Dr. Patterson had been right. It would never be quite the same. But it was strong enough for this, strong enough for what mattered. My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. Marcus's wife filed for divorce. Your sister tried to visit your office today. Security turned her away per your instructions. Your mother wants to talk. Should I respond? I typed back. No response needed. Emma giggled above me, her hands in my hair. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see 3 of my warehouse properties dotting the city skyline. My family had spent years telling me I was nothing, that I couldn't manage anything, that I needed their guidance, their approval, their permission. They'd never asked what I was building while they talked. Marcus had dislocated my shoulder trying to steal property that was mine. Instead, he'd lost everything: his freedom, his career, his family, his future. The 12 specialists had seen the imaging. They'd read Dr. Patterson's careful documentation. They'd understood exactly what kind of man Marcus Webb really was. And now everyone knew exactly who I was too. I adjusted Emma on my shoulders and walked to the kitchen, my left arm supporting her weight without trembling. 4 months of physical therapy, permanent medical records, a criminal conviction. But my daughter was in my arms again, and my warehouses stood undisturbed, property deeds filed legally in my name alone. Empire growing quietly while my family faced the consequences of their greed. Justice, I'd learned, doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives in an orthopedist's careful documentation, distributed to 12 professionals who understood exactly what those imaging scans revealed.